The roots of the Israel-Palestine conflict trace back to the late 19th century, when the land known as Palestine was part of a vast empire. During this time, the territory formed part of the Ottoman Empire, where diverse communities had lived together for generations. After the First World War, control of the region shifted from the Ottoman Empire to British administration.
Both Jewish and Arab communities lived in the region, sharing towns, markets, and daily life.
As Jewish immigration increased, many newcomers were inspired by the Zionist movement seeking a homeland. Over time, both communities developed strong national identities and competing claims to the same land. In 1917, the British government issued a historic statement known as the Balfour Declaration. The declaration expressed British support for establishing a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine.
We cannot let them take our land. Our voice in the government is fading.
What will happen to our homes?
We must act, or all is lost.
Soon after the First World War, Britain took administrative control of Palestine under the British Mandate. During the Mandate years, tensions and outbreaks of violence between communities steadily increased. Britain struggled to manage the growing conflict as both Jewish and Arab communities demanded independence and control. In 1948, an international proposal suggested dividing Palestine into two separate states. The proposal suggested creating two states in the same land, one for Jewish communities and one for Arab communities.
The proposal offers a path to statehood. Agreed, this is our best chance. This is unjust, we cannot accept. It divides our land unfairly. Rejection is the only option.
Soon after the declaration of a new state in the region, tensions quickly turned into armed conflict. Neighboring Arab countries entered the war, turning the regional crisis into a full-scale conflict. The war changed the region dramatically, and many Palestinians were displaced in an event remembered as the Nakba. Another major turning point occurred in 1967, during the conflict known as the Six-Day War. During the war, Israel fought against neighboring armies from Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. By the end of the conflict, Israel had captured several important territories. These areas included the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem.
For Palestinians, these lands are widely seen as the foundation for a future independent state.
Israel, however, views some of these territories as vital for security and connected to historical claims. Over time, Palestinians organized politically and militarily to pursue independence and national recognition.
We must consider the regional implications of our next steps.
Agreed, the formation of the PLO changes everything.
Precisely. It is the most prominent organization of this era. We need a unified strategy. The organization was founded in 1964 with the goal of representing Palestinian national aspirations. 1964 was
We must Severo.
Agreed. The map shows the way forward.
Later, new groups emerged, including Hamas, particularly within the Gaza Strip. Different organizations used various approaches, including political negotiations and armed resistance. Israel considers some of these groups terrorist organizations because of attacks that have targeted civilians. From Israel's perspective, national security has long been a central concern in the ongoing conflict. Over the decades, the country has experienced wars and attacks involving neighboring states and armed groups.
Strong security policies are essential to protect our population from threats.
I agree, but we must balance that with international concerns.
Our intelligence supports these measures. They are justified.
These policies include military operations, border checkpoints, and strict monitoring of movement. Another measure has been the construction of security barriers along parts of the region. Critics say these policies can limit Palestinian movement and rights, increasing tensions in the region. Over the years, several international efforts have tried to resolve the conflict through peaceful negotiations. One of the most significant attempts was the Oslo Accords, signed in the 1990s.
The agreement aimed to establish Palestinian self-governance and create a path toward eventual statehood.
We cannot concede this territory. It compromises the entire Eastern
But the
Front.
current demarcation is unsustainable, Daniel. We agreed on the framework.
Violence, political divisions, and growing distrust gradually weakened the peace process. Disputes over borders, refugees, and the future of Jerusalem prevented lasting peace from taking hold. The Gaza Strip has long been one of the most tense areas in the Israel-Palestine conflict. Millions of Palestinians live in this small coastal territory shaped by decades of political struggle and instability. In 2005, Israel withdrew its settlements and military forces from Gaza. The disengagement was intended to reduce direct control and reshape security policies in the region. 2 years later, in 2007, the political and militant group Hamas took control of Gaza after internal Palestinian conflict, changing the political leadership and power structure of the territory. Following Hamas' takeover, Israel and Egypt imposed a blockade on Gaza. The blockade aimed to prevent weapons smuggling and limit the military capabilities of militant groups. The blockade has created serious humanitarian and economic challenges. Many Palestinians in Gaza struggle with unemployment, shortages of supplies, and limited access to basic resources. Over the years, repeated clashes between Israel and Hamas have caused destruction and loss of life, making Gaza one of the most volatile and closely watched regions in the world. The Israel-Palestine conflict has drawn global attention for decades. International organizations, especially the United Nations, have repeatedly tried to mediate discussions and encourage peaceful solutions. Diplomats from many nations regularly meet to discuss the conflict, hoping to reduce tensions and promote dialogue between Israelis and Palestinians.
International negotiations.
Dialogue is the path forward. The United States has frequently acted as a mediator, attempting to bring leaders from both sides together in negotiations aimed at reaching long-term stability. Over the years, several peace talks have taken place with international support, seeking compromises that could address borders, security concerns, and political recognition. However, global politics often complicates negotiations. Different countries maintain strategic alliances and interests that shape how they respond to developments in the conflict. Because of these competing interests and deep disagreements, achieving a lasting and permanent peace agreement has remained one of the most difficult challenges in international diplomacy. Today, the Israel-Palestine conflict remains one of the most complex and sensitive issues in global politics, influencing diplomacy, regional stability, and international discussions. One widely discussed proposal is the two-state solution, where Israel and a future Palestinian state would exist as separate nations living side by side. However, several critical issues remain unresolved, including final borders, territorial divisions, and agreements about how both sides would manage security and sovereignty. The status of Jerusalem remains particularly sensitive, as both Israelis and Palestinians consider the historic city deeply important politically, culturally, and spiritually. Without mutual trust, compromise, and strong political leadership, reaching a lasting peace agreement will remain extremely challenging for both societies.
We must persist in dialogue despite the hurdles.
Agreed. Cooperation is our only viable path. Peace activists support this. Coexist is key.
Yes, we must convening.